Hello.
Hello.
This is a bit of a funny meeting because you and I are this is like a pantomime of a meeting. We're going to talk about something, but for the benefit of someone watching this. So, hello, person who's watching this, who we don't know who you are. Shall we introduce ourselves and we'll say why we're doing this? So, I'm Rachel. I'm the founder of Corey Kids, and I'm here with Rebecca, who is the Chief Marketing Officer and also Corey Kids' number one employee, as in first employee, I should say, and arguably number one. So you've been with us for like almost 10 years.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why this role exists right now?
Yeah, so I am going off to have my third baby that I have had at Corrie Kids. The third of my Corrie Kids is due at the end of October, beginning of November. So we are looking for someone to come and basically lead the marketing team, who are amazing, um, for a year while I go and look after this baby. So yeah, I've worked at Corrie Kids. I joined Rachel back in the days where we really didn't have much at all. And then in terms of customers or budget or really a product. And then what we have now has been a really exciting journey. And I think that journey looks very exciting next year. So I'm a little bit sad about missing out on like next year as well. But we're at a place where we've built a really amazing business. We've built a brand that people love. There's tons of opportunity left to kind of still grow and make an impact in our existing business, but we're also looking at ways of widening our services, which is going to provide like whole new challenges for this person to take on next year. So I think it's actually a really exciting time to come and have someone sit in the driving seat for me and see which direction they take it in.
I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. Actually, you've done the hard yards for like 9 years, and I feel like Corey Kids is in a very stable and very exciting place right now. We've just recently paid back all our debt. We are profitable and I'm feeling stable. And I would not have said any of those three things basically any one like in any other year of our history. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. To be specific, I think you're intending to take a year off, and I know your due date is kind of end October, something. So we're thinking about this person coming in something like mid October, possibly early October. And I think we can be a bit flexible about that. But that's sort of like our ideal time, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, do you want to, should we start off by talking a little bit about the team? Do you want to say who's in the marketing team? The wider Coro Kids team is, I have to figure 37. I think we're 37 people. It might now be 38 or 39. We just had a couple of new joiners, but we're kind of that size. And we've got a very small finance team. We've got a reasonably big ops team because we're quite people heavy. And then we've got uh, four engineers, a brilliant product designer, brilliant product manager, and then we've got the marketing team. So do you want to talk about that?
Yes, so we are a team of five right now. So it's split up into our kind of retention team who look after CRM, headed up by Amparo, who is brilliant. And we've just hired someone new into that team as well. Retention is a really important part of our success at Corey Kids. And what that means for us is childcare is a big decision. People make it over sometimes weeks, sometimes years. And the team basically work really hard to identify who those people are, make sure we give them the right information, like the right support, the right help, to find the childcare at the right time for them. So they work across like email, SMS, WhatsApp. Sometimes we do direct mail. And also that team works very closely with our product engineering team as well to look at all of our customer and user journeys and make sure they are all amazing. Then we have a bit of a sort of side hustle team at the moment, but they're becoming more established. So we sort of started off Corrie Kids in London. And a few years ago, we broke out into expansion areas, as we call them, which is kind of the other kind of core cities in the UK and some like home counties and things like that. And it's been an area of growth for us, but it was not kind of up until about a year ago. We thought we could kind of put more into it. So Michelle leads that kind of side of our marketing with Danny. And their job is a little bit different to the London job in that they have to be extremely hyper local in their approach. So they'll make different decisions in Bristol till they'll make in Birmingham. And we might need nannies in Surrey, but we might need families in Edinburgh. So they're constantly trying to kind of push and pull to make all the mechanics in those smaller marketplaces work. And collectively, they're a really important part of our growth at Cora Kids. So they kind of take on more of that kind of commercial side of things, but they're also doing all the marketing tactics too. And then we have Yasmin, who is basically our marketing manager. She was doing the CRM role. She's just moved into this team. We love, if we can, giving people internally opportunities to grow and develop. So this is a really cool opportunity for Yasmin to move sort of out of something more specialist into something more generalist. So she's looking after all of our performance marketing at the moment, and she's mainly focused on London, but she also supports expansion. So she's kind of gearing up at the moment, and the 3 direct reports you'll have will be Yasmin, Amparo, and Michelle.
Brilliant. That was great. Thank you very much. I could ask at this point about kind of team culture and stuff, but I think we've actually covered that quite a lot on our careers page. So if anyone wants to know more about that, head to the Cora Kids career page, and there's some other recordings that we've done kind of other times that go into depth on our values and team and culture and stuff.
I might just say something about like the people leadership side of the team though, just to give an idea of like the team they'll be managing. So I would describe all of the team as like high potential. And the thing that makes them high potential is that they all really, really care about their career and development, but not in an ego way. So they're not coming to me asking about job titles and things. They're coming to ask me, how can I learn more? How can I get an opportunity to do more of this? Or I've been through the progression framework, which we have at Cora Kids, which really kind of clearly identifies like how you move through the stages. And they'll say, I'm lacking on this. Can you do a monthly coaching call where we just focus on this thing together? So they, in terms of like their own develop and their learning, they really kind of take the lead on it. But they'll really want your help to help support and develop them and mentor them through the stages. The other thing that I think is true of all teams, but especially the marketing team, is because we're mostly remote, they love to be together. So kind of planning working sessions where we get to be creative together or build things together in a day. Sometimes we'll say, let's not just kind of plan something, but let's just actually sit down and like try and build this thing or launch this channel in a day, because it's just really inspiring to be able to do it together. So they love team time, they love being together, they love when we can working together. And I think that's going to be like a really important part of it. But in general, what the kind of approach we take across Cora Kids really is that we set really clear objectives and then we give people tons of autonomy. And this team that you'll be leading really rise to that challenge. So they are, they love direction and they love input and they love challenge and they love feedback, but they are like very capable and take tons of ownership as much as you'll give them, basically. So it's a really kind of fast moving, hardworking, supportive culture in the marketing team. And I think I'm really excited to see where they are when I come back after a year, because I know they're all kind of on a trajectory of great stuff.
Yeah, that's really true. And the things that you've just said about them, like people loving direction, read my own handwriting, feedback, challenge, autonomy, all of that. That is true for the whole of Cora Kids as well. That's like those are like very deeply our values as well. In fact, I've just got straight after this, I've one of Rebecca's team, Danny, proactively wanted a feedback session. So she has arranged her own feedback session. She's reached out to me and she said, can you at this time come along and give me some feedback? And that is just a perfect example of like at Cora Kids, that's really unremarkable that like people do that sort of thing all the time. But I think it's like a really important part. And also because you mentioned in office working and kind of, location and stuff, just a moment on that. So I am currently in North London in Highgate. I'm currently working from home today. You are also currently working from home today, and you live in Northern Ireland. And literally, we were just before we hit record, Rebecca was just showing me her new kitchen. It's very exciting. But can you talk a little bit about about location and kind of we need people to be in at least once a month in London, right?
Yeah, so I try and do two because I'm traveling quite far. I try and do 2 days a month. So I'll come over like a Wednesday, Thursday, once a month. And I try and make sure I have like a free diary those days so I get lots of team time and plan things in where we can all work together. When I was living in London, I went in more frequently and I know the team really appreciated that. So it's kind of not a kind of it's one of those things that if you can, it's great if you will. Um, One of the team lives in Winchester, one in Surrey, the others are in London. Different people kind of value it in different amounts, so they'll go in more frequently than others. But I know sort of especially the team are really keen to learn from the person that comes in to do this role for the year. So I know the more time you spend with them, like in person will make a difference to them. So it's kind of not a kind of black and white line, but it's definitely something that I know they would really appreciate more in person time.
Yeah, if you happen to live in London and you want to come into the office every day, we would definitely see that as a huge plus, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so what can we talk more about what this person needs to be doing? What would make this person successful? And what, like realistically, what do you actually spend all day doing?
Yeah. So I think we've kind of chunked up the role into like three areas, which I think summarize it quite well. So I think the first is like commercial leadership and analytics. And what I mean by that is Corey Kids is quite complicated. There's lots of moving parts and there's lots of different funnels in terms of conversion, and there's lots of different buying cycles over lots of different time frames. So it's not as simple, as looking at a CPA and saying, is that good or bad? There's a lot of nuance to a lot of the decisions. So I think this person, we have what is amazing is that we don't have a data analyst. So there's no one to kind of like ask the smart question to and get the answer back from. Everyone in the marketing team has really strong data skills and is really able to answer their own questions. And that goes for this role as well. So it's really important that this person is happy getting into Looker or training up on Looker if you haven't used it before, and kind of usually the first answer you get isn't the right answer. And I spend a lot of time thinking, well, why isn't that right? Why does that not make sense? Maybe I'll talk to the GM about it. I literally just came off a call with Hick, who's doing our GM role at the moment. And I said, this is really weird. Look at this. And he said, that is, I'll look at this stuff. You look at that stuff. We'll get to the bottom of it. Because we might have an opportunity for Q3 to get some growth somewhere, or we might be able to kind of like stop an issue that's causing like hampering growth, basically. So I'm kind of always on the lookout in the data, looking for opportunities, checking stuff is where we expect it to be. And in expansion, obviously that's quite hyper local. In London, it's a bit higher volume and kind of collective. But yeah, you need to kind of be comfortable. If you're a curious person that likes asking 5 questions instead of one when it doesn't look right, and you like getting the answer for yourself instead of having to wait for someone to give it to you, like you will love this role.
Yeah, and right from the very start, remember we gave everyone a data literacy test. Even when they worked in customer service, we always thought that everyone at Corey Kids needs to be able to like work with data, and that seed of the culture has continued. So it's not acceptable here to not be able to work with data.
Yeah, and also not there's also times not the data's not perfect, or you might not be like data default. Like we just looked at an A/B test we've been running in Google this morning, and like the data at first pass kind of looked like it was going one way, and then when we actually looked at it, we were like, do you know what? Longer term, like I think that's not the right call. This is the right call. So there's a lot of kind of it's never kind of black and white. You need to be excited by the nuance of it. So I think that's part of it. There's also a lot of kind of general commercial planning. So each month, helping the team think about growth, think about adjusting channels. I'm not very hands-on in that way. They're really capable. I just tend to sort of give them as much challenge to make sure it's kind of really well thought through. And then that helps them the next time round think of those things for themselves. And you'll work really, really closely with our GM in terms of thinking through like what budgets we should set, and what we can deliver in terms of like ROI and cat guardrails and all of that stuff as well. That's quite important. The other thing is that our main channels are that we spend money on are Google and across PMAX search, and possibly demand gen as well. And then also Meta. So if you've got experience in those, I think they're quite different plays at the moment. Meta's all about creative, and Google's more about data. So having a background in those is really, really helpful, because the team are quite good, like know the channels inside out, but they're going to need kind of like the right questions, the right support. There are also channels that if we think we can invest more in, so making those investment decisions about like how much we can spend and whether it's good value for money will be really important. And then the other place we get a lot of kind of acquisition from is referral and word of mouth. Like our brand is really important, but we don't have large brand budgets in that you'll kind of hire an agency, do some big out of home campaign. We mainly focus on like owned and earned. So we're looking at kind of like our social channels, email and CRM, also like PR. So basically thinking about how we can get like large amount of awareness with smaller budgets. Being more creative is basically the key. But yeah, brand is a very important part of our acquisition. It's just not where a lot of the budget goes. But it makes a big contribution. So it's something that's really important to kind of be on top of. And then the other big element of the role is obviously people side and coaching and development and leadership, which I've already talked loads about, so I won't say it all again.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. And so in terms of process, hopefully everything that Rebecca's just said will give a little bit more context as to why we've asked the questions in our application form that we have. Particularly, there's one in there that says, what experience do you have around, I can't remember exactly what it was like, it's like CPA and ROI and LTV and like, I literally wrote the question, can't remember what it is. Anyway, that question. And so that's why we're asking that one, is because it's really, really important that the person like be able to do that. It's kind of one of the hearts of it. And then some of the other stuff that Rebecca's been talking about, which isn't covered in the application form, of course, we'll just talk about that as the process goes on. Basically, the process is to meet with one of us. It's most likely going to be me. There's a chance it might be Rebecca for the very first conversation. And then I think we're probably going to have bring in one of the team members, so like one of the people we've mentioned, Amparo or Michelle or Yasmin or Dani, and do something with them, probably brief, sort of like 30, 60 minutes, that kind of thing. Then I think we're going to have a case study and a task. Case study, both Rebecca and I are from consulting backgrounds, and case studies are the way that you kind of interview people, so that's why it's sort of our historical heritage. But I also have to say it is how every single person in the marketing team and in actually most of the rest of the company came into the company was through doing a case study. So that's just
tried and tested.
Yeah, tried and tested, and we think it gives a really good idea of kind of how people approach problems. Then we'll do a CV review with you, which is literally just talking through your CV. And I think that is it in terms of our process. And then we'll, of course, do references as well. We're always really open to you doing references on us as well. This is a big decision for anyone to take on a role. So definitely help you out with that. And hopefully you'll get to talk to some people about what we like to work with, or particularly me and whoever else at Corey Kids. I think that's it. Is there anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. Well, there's a bit on the application form where you can ask us or tell us anything else. Otherwise, really look forward to meeting you. If you've made it all the way through this, that's great. And hopefully you've got a much better idea of what the role really, really, really is in real life. Thanks very much.
Bye.